Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. You're here with me, your beautiful host, Zach, and happy Labor Day to all of those who celebrate. Enjoy the long weekend. You all deserve it. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about some Detroit Red Wings news, rumors, and updates. And before we jump into everything, I want to stop and say thanks for joining me on this brand new episode. Once again, if you are returning, if you are brand new, thanks for stopping by. I truly do appreciate it. If you haven't already, if you're watching or listening to me on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I know you haven't already, so why don't you go ahead and take the second to do that. It is free to do that. Hit the thumbs up button and hit that notification bell. All those things are free to do. I know you can do it. That lets you know when these brand new episodes come out, as well as our short videos that come out every day throughout the week. So that way you can stay on top of what's going on in the Detroit Red Wings world. You can also watch and listen to us on Spotify. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts. Go ahead and hit that follow button, rate us the 5 stars. That truly does help us out and grow on this journey to provide more content for you guys talking about the Detroit Red Wings and just hockey in general. You can also find us on all your major social media platforms like Twitter, X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, all of those amazing platforms. You can find us on there and engage with us on there as well. And why don't we go ahead and just jump into it, shall we? And we got a lot to discuss here, and I'm going to try and make it quick here, but what do we got in store today? Well, I wanted to showcase to you that the Detroit Red Wings and the NHL released their national game schedule for this upcoming season, and the Detroit Red Wings are set to have 17 on national broadcast. Here, as you can see on their Twitter, first game will be on October 15th, starting with the Florida Panthers, going as late as April 15th, starting with Florida, ending with Florida. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Detroit Red Wings do with 17 nationally televised games without Ken and Mick. I'm not a big fan of it. I love my boys, but we'll see how they do. Maybe Ken can come in and announce one of these games for maybe ESPN or ABC. We'll just have to wait and see. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this nationally televised schedule for the Detroit Red Wings. Granted, no Ken and Mick, but it's good to see that the Red Wings are getting the national recognition that they deserve. Hopefully, this helps them push them into the playoffs, which we all desperately want as Red Wings fans. Now moving over to some of the other news, and this was sent out via JFresh at JFresh Hockey on Twitter. He did make a post, but it's very similar to the same post. He just made a few tweaks on his projection based on updated depth charts, and then goes on to say that he will answer any questions. But this is how he foresees the standings for each division to play out. And on here, as you can see, you got Tampa Bay coming in at 102 points, Toronto 100 points, Florida Panthers at 98, the Ottawa Senators coming in the 4th spot with 97 points, and Buffalo Sabres being right underneath them. And he does have these teams folded here. So these 5 right here in the Atlantic, last one being Buffalo with 93 points, making the playoffs, Boston being out with 87, and the Detroit Red Wings right underneath that for second to last in the division with 83 points, tied with the Montreal Canadiens, which is a little shocking considering the players that they've added, the rookies that they'll have. JFresh does mention that he can't insert rookies into his data because there is no data on them within the NHL. So I understand it from that point, but I'm just very curious as to why he has Detroit so low in terms of where they'll be at in the standings and in terms of points, even with the additions of someone like John Gibson, who added someone like Mason Appleton. He's going to help out that PK tremendously, which was really bad this past season. So not sure why, but obviously if you have any questions, you can go over to this post by JFresh and ask him, hey, why do you have the Red Wings so low? But it's no secret. A lot of people outside Detroit Red Wings fandom has the team very low. I think that this team's going to see an extra boost. I think that they'll be closer to the 90-point mark, and they kind of have to be in order to make the playoffs. And even looking at the Metropolitan Division, I'll just start from the top. Carolina Hurricanes 104, New Jersey Devils 104, New York Rangers 92 points, which I'm very surprised by, considering that the subtractions that they had last season and going into the offseason, Washington falling back with 90 points, so they get beaten out. They're not going to the playoffs. Pittsburgh Penguins just slightly below that with 89 points, which I'm shocked by. You'd think that they'd be going into the rebuild. Then Columbus right under that with 83, New York Islanders 81, and then the Flyers with 77. They really want that crack at McKenna. Then you look at Chicago 74 and San Jose with 70 as well. Everyone wants the McKenna sweepstakes. I don't blame them. Maybe there is lottery luck here for the Detroit Red Wings if this were to come to fruition. Because if you do count here, I believe the Red Wings would finish 9th to last in the standings, finishing with the 9th overall pick before the lottery if there was no lottery. So maybe lottery gods are with the Detroit Red Wings this year, but because boy, oh boy, Gavin McKenna would surely help them out. I hope this isn't the case. I think the Red Wings will be more in competition closer to Ottawa and Buffalo. Maybe just underneath that 93 points. But let me know what you think down below about JFresh's predictions. I do actually want to showcase this as well, because JFresh did also put it out there that he does a standings model projection results of other accounts that also do their predictions of the division standings for the upcoming seasons. And just clicking on this, here's the average error, which is 10.9. JFresh's error count is actually the best out of all these people with only 10.4. So he beats the actual average. He did really good on that. And for the Detroit Red Wings this past season, he only had one error. So he's pretty spot on. So let me know what you think down in the comments below on what you think about the Detroit Red Wings. If there's a surprise here, or if there's a team that you think he may have messed up on that's too high or too low, let me know down in the comments what you think about JFresh's predictions here for the Detroit Red Wings going into the 25-26 season. Now, this one was interesting. What are your thoughts on our top 25 players born in this quarter century list posted by the NHL Network? And a lot of people online are starting to get the feeling that the NHL Network is submitting a lot of clickbait. Just starting from number 25, Matthew Knies, Kirill Marchenko, Matvei Michkov, Noah Dobson, Dustin Wolf, Leo Carlson, Quinton Byfield, Luke Hughes, Moritz Seider at number 17, our Wonder Boy over there, Brock Faber, Seth Jarvis, Lane Hudson. Going over to the next slide is Logan Cooley coming in at 13, Cole Caulfield, Lucas Raymond at number 11, our right wing stud right there. And then right below him at number 10 is Matt Boldy, Adam Fantilli, Connor Bedard, Wyatt Johnson, Thomas Harley, Macklin Celebrini, Jake Sanderson, Tim Stützle, Jack Hughes, Rasmus Dahlin. This list is very tricky to me. I'm okay with it. I'm really not going to nitpick it too hard, but I think Logan Cooley could be higher. I do believe Jake Sanderson's a little high on here. I do believe that Macklin Celebrini is way too high on here. I agree Rasmus Dahlin and Jack Hughes and even Tim Stützle should be the top three. I would agree with those. I actually do think that Connor Bedard and Adam Fantilli should be a little bit higher. Same with Logan Cooley, Cole Caulfield, even someone like Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, Lane Hudson. I would say he could be a little bit higher. I think even Quinton Byfield should be higher. And there's plenty of other players that you probably could have inserted in this that did not make the cut. So let me know what you think down in the comments about this whole entire top 25 players born in this quarter century. There definitely were some players missing from this that I feel that you could have added in here. But let me know what you think about Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond. Their rankings, are they in the correct spots? Should they be higher? Should they be lower? Once again, let me know down in the comments. And just not too long ago, the Detroit Red Wings just retweeted this from EA Sports, or not retweeted, they just put this out, covering the NHL 26 top 10 Detroit Red Wings overall rankings for the NHL 26 game that is set to release here in about 2 weeks. I believe it's September 12th. You can go ahead and pre-order that. Obviously, I'll get that for my Xbox. Starting from the top, you got Dylan Larkin at 89, Lucas Raymond following suit at 89, Moritz Seider 88, Alex DeBrincat 88, Patrick Kane 86, Cam Talbot 85, John Gibson coming in at 84, just right underneath Cam Talbot, which is a little surprising to me. I think people are really sleeping on John Gibson just because he was on a pretty bad Ducks team for quite a while. Then you got Marco Kasper at 83. Love to see the love there. Simon Edvinsson, 83 as well. Eric Gustafsson, an 83. I'm a little shocked by that. I'm surprised that they wouldn't have Simon Edvinsson a little bit higher. I think you probably could have. I'm curious to see what Albert Johansson has. I think you probably could have swapped him out with Eric Gustafsson. I don't think Eric Gustafsson should be that high, but let me know what you think about these rankings. as well. I do think that someone like Dylan Larkin could have been a 90. Lucas Raymond, I think that's fine. Moritz Seider, you might as well should have just given him the 89. Patrick Kane, I love that he's an 86. He's above an 85, which is great. I'm still shocked by the goaltending. An 85 and an 84. When was the last time we saw the Red Wings have a goaltending tandem with that high of overall rankings in an NHL game? Probably almost 20 years. But let me know down in the comments once again what you think about these overall rankings, and let me know if you guys are ever down to play. And then last but not least, there is an article by Heavy.com that the Red Wings trade pitch lands them an exciting winger. Not sure if you guys have seen this article yet, but it reads here: the Pittsburgh Penguins have a very interesting target in forward Rickard Rakell. Due to this, Heavy Sports has a trade proposal that has Pittsburgh trading Rakell to Detroit in a major swap. Detroit gets Rickard Rakell, and then the Penguins get the 2026 first-round pick that is top 15 protected, forward Michael Rasmussen, and defensive prospect Shai Buium. With the Penguins rebuilding, Rickard has been an incredibly popular player in the rumor mill. His trade value is also heightened right now because he set new career highs with 35 goals and 70 points last season. And that he did. Rickard Rakell, he put up season highs. For those that aren't familiar with Rickard Rakell, he is 32 years old. He is 6'1", 203 pounds. He does shoot right. And this past season, in 81 games, he put up 35 goals, 35 assists for 70 points. With the Pittsburgh Penguins, he's been with them for the last 3.5 seasons. Minus, obviously, the season before that. It was just a quite bad season for him and the Pittsburgh Penguins all around. Now, the one thing with Rickard Rakell that you have to be careful with is that age and the contract that he still has left with him, and coming in at $5 million. And I believe that he has 3 more years left. So yeah, including this season, he has 3 more seasons left on his deal, carrying a cap hit of $5 million. Looking at someone like Michael Rasmussen, who has a cap hit of just over $3 million, really the Detroit Red Wings would only be taking on $1.8 million in extra cap. They certainly can do that because they have more than enough. It's over $10 million left after signing Travis Hamonic to that 1-year, $1 million deal. I don't mind this trade, especially when you go over to Money Puck and you look at Rickard Rakell's numbers. He was playing on the top line. That's where he's projected to play this upcoming season. Once again, this past season, 35 goals, 35 assists for 70 points, 19 primary assists, 16 secondary assists. And if you kind of go over here as well, he puts up 116 hits. So he definitely brings some physicality to his game, even with his age, on the higher end than you would like for it to be. He doesn't get very many penalties. That would equate to 7 minor penalties throughout the season, which is very fantastic. He drew 12 minor penalties, if you wanted to look at it from that perspective. And then also is the block shots. That's pretty high block shots for a forward with 77 right there. Not sure if Rakell was getting penalty kill time with the Pittsburgh Penguins. If we were to make this trade, the Detroit Red Wings, I would not put Rickard Rakell on the PK, special teams on the power play only. Then you look over here, the one thing that I don't like is the 77 giveaways. And then moving over 29 in the defensive zone, which is the highest on the Pittsburgh Penguins team. Then coming over here and looking at someone like Michael Rasmussen, we'll just move over here to the points real quick. 21 total points. I had to put it down from the bottom, going up to the highest point total because he was so far down there. 21 points in his 77 games played, 7 primary assists for 3 secondary assists as well. Just kind of covering what we did for Rickard Rakell versus a Michael Rasmussen. Rasmussen definitely beats him in that hit category by about 30 hits right there, 141, 24 penalty minutes. So he had 12 minor penalties looking at it from that perspective. And then drew 14. So on par, essentially, with a Rickard Rakell right there. So not too bad for him right there. Then going over, you look at the takeaways, 10 takeaways, 42 giveaways, and 9 in the defensive zone. So a little bit better, but obviously Rickard Rakell playing on a bad Pittsburgh Penguins team and also playing in the top 6, where Michael Rasmussen, most of his season was spent in the bottom 6 with the Detroit Red Wings. And for me, just going over this trade idea, I would much rather swap out Rasmussen with a Jonathan Berggren if I could. And coming over here and looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins forward lineup, you see that Rickard Rakell starting on the top left wing for the team. If you were to make this trade, that's where Rickard Rakell would go on the Detroit Red Wings. So your starting lineup would be Rickard Rakell on the top line, at least. Rickard Rakell, Dylan Larkin, and Lucas Raymond. Now, instead of someone like Michael Rasmussen, I understand why you're making this trade. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins would love someone like Michael Rasmussen, someone that you can insert on the top line, but isn't a top line player. One player that I would like to make the suggestion and swap out if I can, if I were Steve Yzerman, trying to put on my Steve Yzerman wizard hat here, is that instead of Michael Rasmussen, because I want to keep him for that physical presence and I want Michael Rasmussen for the PK as well, and he brings forecheck as well. The man can forecheck. We need that. The one player that I would suggest swapping would be Jonathan Berggren. Jonathan Berggren right now is slated to be a fourth line winger. Some may even have him slotted as an extra forward because a lot of people think that Carter Mazur will start on the Detroit Red Wings opening night roster. Now, if you do this, it doesn't solve that issue. However, by moving on from someone like a Jonathan Berggren, you're going to give him an opportunity to actually showcase what he could do in the NHL, and the Pittsburgh Penguins can move him up and down in the lineup. They could put him on the top line to replace Rickard Rakell. Not essentially replace him, but can be a filler for that spot. You can move him up and down the lineup as well as someone like they have Rucker McGroarty as well, who I'm sure they want to see plenty of looks of to see if he can maybe replace a Rickard Rakell in that top left wing spot. Over time, once we get closer to that end of the season, we'd probably see a lot of those looks, but that's how I would go about this trade if I were to make this trade. I love the proposal. You also have to throw in the first. I'm really not the biggest fan of that, but it is top 15 protected. And in this case, if JFresh's prediction came true, the Detroit Red Wings would then have to send the Pittsburgh Penguins the 2027 first round pick, which would also be top 15 protected as well. So on top of Shai Buium, it's fair. It's not the greatest. I don't like it as a Detroit Red Wings fan. I do think that it is a lot to give up. But this is what happens in the NHL when there's only one team in the NHL out of all 32 teams that is willing to sell their players. So the Pittsburgh Penguins, to them, they could keep Rakell. They absolutely could. They don't have to sell him for next to nothing. They're not on a flea bargain deal hunt right now. The Pittsburgh Penguins are in a situation where they control the market and they can ransack these other teams that need scoring depth, like from a Rickard Rakell. Can he put up the 35 goals again? I personally don't think so. Maybe he has one more season left in the tank to be able to do it where he puts up 30 plus, maybe 2 seasons at most. But with that contract for 3 more years, coming in at $5 million, it's not so much the hit, it's so much the term with the age that attached to it. So I'm not really too sure on this deal. If I could swap out Jonathan Berggren with Michael Rasmussen, I'd prefer to do that. I think that makes the most sense. And let me know down in the comments what you thought about that trade offer, what you think about swapping Jonathan Berggren for Michael Rasmussen. If you would even do a trade, what would it look like for Rickard Rakell? Leave it down in the comments. Let me know also everything else that I mentioned. Leave it down in the comments. Thank you once again for joining me on this brand new episode of Hockeytown Rundown. I truly do appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button if you're watching or listening to me on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button as well. Hit that notification bell that lets you know when these brand new episodes come out. You can find us over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you aren't on there already listening or watching us on there, you can also find us on all your major social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, all those places. And until next time, I'll see y'all on the next one. See ya.